Another interviewee, I suppose we just about have time. I'm Cora, your interviewer today. The formal interview process regarding your application will now commence. French or British cheese, which is best?
Hi Cora, French or British cheese? I guess there are two ways to answer that question. If you were asking me as a customer, I would first try to understand what flavor profile you prefer, what your preferences are. But I guess you are asking me as the founder of Club de Fromage, in which case you want my personal opinion. And my personal opinion is that French is simply the answer. The diversity of cheeses, the depths, the possibilities with wine pairing, everything makes French the best cheese.
That is a very decisive stance to take on such a broad subject. Considering your preference, which specific French region do you believe produces the most complex profiles for our list?
Well, my favorite region is actually the Alps. I love mountain cheese because you have these variations between the hard cheeses, the toms, and obviously the things like reblochon that you can put in raclette. So I think it is quite diverse, unique, and maybe not that well known.
The Alpine region certainly offers a distinct variety of textures and traditional production methods. Next on the agenda, imagine you're designing a tasting progression of 3 cheeses. Every transition must feel inevitable, with each cheese preparing the palate for the next. Explain your sequence, the logic behind it, and where, if anywhere, you would deliberately surprise your guests.
Well, I've organized quite a few of those testing sessions. The classic one is a progression in texture. The second most classic one is a progression in strengths, but my favorite is what I call the extreme tasting, where I'm going to pick 3 very surprising, very strong cheeses. I will start with an époisse, quite pungent but also quite creamy. I would then move into concoyote, the texture of which is extremely surprising. And then I will finally end with a langre, which is the epitome of what people would think as a stinking cheese, and it is actually so soft and deep and complex that it makes everyone happy.
Your selection leans heavily towards the pungent, washed-rind varieties. Regarding this extreme sequence, how would you justify such an aggressive progression to a novice diner who finds these profiles overwhelming?
This is a great question. I don't think I would offer that tasting course for a novice diner. I would first ask them what it is they have tried before, and if they are more interested in variety, progression, or if they just want to try something very new and potentially surprising.
Your approach suggests a preference for tailoring the experience based on the individual guest's prior exposure. The next item on my list is, discuss a challenging wine and cheese pairing you made.
One of my favorite pairings to make is when someone is having a pretty strong, deep red, like a Malbec, plum, red fruits, quite heavy. I like to cut through the taste with something that is equally strong but fresh, and that's why I would typically choose a Roquefort.
I suppose that'll do. Looks like we've covered all the questions. That's where this session ends and my work begins. I'll aim to get back to you by the end of next week.
Great.
Another interviewee? I suppose we just about have time. The formal interview.
Hi, Cora. French or British cheese? I guess there are two ways to answer that question. If you were asking me as a customer, I would first try to understand what flavor profile you prefer, what your preferences are. But I guess you are asking diversity of cheeses, the depths, the possibilities with wine pairing.
Greetings, I'm Hassan. Think of me as a compass to help you navigate the landscape of your recent interview at the cheese shop. I'm here to help you unpack that experience and sift through the details of your encounter with Cora. How do you feel after that conversation?
Well, I'm not too sure how I felt. Cora was quite a difficult interviewer, quite cold, and I feel that I showed my knowledge, but I don't know if I showed it in a very structured way.
Cora certainly had a frosty exterior. You navigated those choppy waters with impressive expertise, even if the structure felt a bit like a melting brie. Your feedback suggests using the STAR method could help anchor your stories. Despite that chill in the air, what do you think went really well?
Well, as I said, Club de Fromage is very well known, very high standards, and I think I demonstrated some my deep level of cheeses. So I'm quite happy that I was able to show that.
You certainly painted a vivid picture of your expertise. Your feedback highlighted that decisive stance you took, showing you're a true connoisseur of the craft. It's wonderful to see that passion blooming. Looking back at the finer details, what didn't go so well in your opinion?
Well, I think maybe my answers were a little bit all over the place. I didn't really try to use a structure. It was beginning, middle, and an end. I would just say what came through my mind. Maybe also came across as a little bit pretentious.
It takes a keen eye to spot where the threads of a conversation fray. Your feedback noted that while your passion is a bright beacon, using the STAR method would help weave your expertise into a clearer narrative. To help you sharpen your tools, what's one goal you could take away today? For example, what will you keep doing? Or what would you like to improve?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Can you help me?
Of course. Sometimes the path forward is hidden in the mist. Based on your feedback, a brilliant goal would be to practice the STAR method to give your answers a sturdy backbone and reduce those ums that peppered the talk. What benefit do you think this goal could bring to your life? For example, how would it make things different or better?
Well, I think if I was able to use that method, my answers would lend. Are you able to explain to me what a STAR method is?
The STAR method is a sturdy trellis for your thoughts: situation, task, action, and result. By anchoring your expertise to this frame, you ensure your brilliance shines without getting lost in the weeds. We've journeyed through your interview today, uncovering your deep passion for fromage while identifying how structure can turn a pretentious spark into a professional flame. You've shown great courage in dissecting your performance with such honesty. As our conversation draws to a close, remember that every master was once an apprentice. Keep refining that narrative arc, and you'll be unstoppable. I'm cheering you on from the sidelines as you continue to grow.